My name is Ashita and welcome back to my channel. I hope you all are doing great. If you are new to my channel, take a moment and hit that subscribe button. This is the second video of the transfer pricing series. In the first video, we discussed what is transfer pricing, why there is a need to introduce transfer pricing provisions, what is the definition of international transaction, and we touched briefly upon associated enterprise. In today's video, we are going to discuss in detail what is an associated enterprise, because transfer pricing provisions applies to transaction which are taking place between two associated enterprise. So it is important to understand what actually makes two enterprise as associated enterprise. If you haven't watched the first video, I'll make sure to link it down in the description box below, and also I'll leave a link on the screen so that you can go and watch it later in case you are interested. So having said that, let's get into this video. So section 92A subsection 1 says an associated enterprise in relation to another enterprise means an enterprise which is participating in the management, control or capital of such other enterprise. Or if a person is participating in the management, control and capital of both the enterprise, in that case also those enterprise would be considered as an associated enterprise. Now this participation can be directly or indirectly or through one or more subsidiaries. Now, section 92A subsection 1 gives a broad definition of associated enterprise. Like it says, it talks about management, control and capital. So it is a sort of a way to actually understand what actually constitute associated enterprise. So Finance Bill 2002 brought an amendment. Through that amendment, it introduced subsection 92A subsection 2, which actually gives a list of relationships under which two enterprises would be considered as associated enterprise. Now there are a lot of litigation around the fact whether these two sections, which is 92A subsection 1 and 92A subsection 2, are independent of each other, or do we need to read them in conjunction to each other, like in togetherness, to make a sense of what an associated enterprise actually means. So let me know if you want me to actually take up those case laws and talk about those case laws in details. I can make a separate video for that. Now the intent of bringing this amendment was actually to expand the definition given in subsection 1, because subsection 2 starts with the phrase for the purpose of subsection 1, and then it gives a list of criteria under which two entities would be considered as associated enterprise. And more sense to it can be taken from the fact that when you look at form 3CEB, it talks about the relationship of associated enterprise as per subsection 2, 92A subsection 2. It does not talk about 92A subsection 1. So these two sections have to be read in conjunction to each other to actually understand what associated enterprise means. So let's just look at the list of the criteria that are given in subsection 2. So the first clause is one enterprise holds directly or indirectly shares at least of 26% of voting power in such other enterprise. In that case, both the enterprise would be considered as associated enterprise. The next clause is if a person holds not less than 26% of the voting power in both the enterprise, then in that case both the enterprises would be considered as associated enterprise. Now the third clause is if one enterprise has advanced loan to the other enterprise and that loan constitutes not less than 51% of the book value of the assets of such other enterprise, in that case both the enterprises would be considered as associated enterprise. The next clause is if one enterprise guarantees not less than 10% of the total borrowing of the other enterprise, in that situation both those enterprises would be deemed as associated enterprise for the purpose of transfer pricing. The next clause is more than half of the board of directors or the members of governing board or one or more executive director of the board or executive member of the governing board of one enterprise is appointed by another enterprise, in that situation both the enterprises would be considered as associated enterprise. The next clause in addition to the above clause is that if the more than half of the board of directors or the member of the governing board or the executive director or executive member of the governing board is appointed by the same person in both the enterprise, in that case also both the enterprise would constitute as associated enterprises. Now the next clause is the manufacturing or processing of goods or articles or business carried out by one enterprise is wholly dependent on the use of know-how, patent, copyrights, trademark, license, franchises of any other business or commercial right of similar nature, or any data, documentation, drawing or specification relating to any patent, invention, model, design, secret formula or process of which the other enterprise is the owner or in respect of which the other enterprise has an exclusive right. Now let's say there is an enterprise and let's call it enterprise A, and there's this enterprise called as enterprise B. Now entity A has IP, it holds the trademark, trade name and brand name of, let's say, a hotel, and it has given the license to use that brand name to enterprise B. Now enterprise B is using that brand name in carrying its business. Now in this situation, entity A and entity B would be considered as associated enterprises. The fact to be noted here is the enterprise should be the owner of such IP, trademark, trade name, whatever it is, or should have the exclusive right. If entity A does not have the exclusive right or is not the owner, let's say it is also a sub-licensing that IP from another enterprise who is the owner, in that case these enterprises would not be considered as associated enterprise. Now the next clause is if 90% or more of the raw material and consumables required for the manufacture or processing of goods or articles carried out by one enterprise are supplied by the other enterprise or by the person specified by such enterprise, and the prices and other conditions relating to the supply are influenced by such other enterprise. So now if entity A is supplying more than 90% of the raw material or consumables that entity B needs to run its business, or it is supplied by some another person that is specified by entity A, then also these enterprise would be considered as associated enterprise. Or if the price is determined or influenced by entity A or the person specified by entity A, in that case also entity A and entity B would constitute as associated enterprise. Now if one enterprise is controlled by an individual or relative of an individual, and the other enterprise is also controlled by such individual or relative of such individual, in that case also both the enterprise would be considered as associated enterprise. Now where one enterprise is controlled by an HUF and the other enterprise is also controlled by the member of the HUF or the relative of the HUF, or jointly by the member or the relative, in that case also both the enterprise would be deemed as associated enterprise for the purpose of section 92A. Now where one enterprise is a firm or AOP or body of individual, and the other enterprise holds not less than 10% of the interest in such firm, AOP or BOI, then also that would constitute as associated enterprise. And the last clause is if there exists a relationship of mutual interest between two associated enterprise as may be prescribed, and nothing has been prescribed in this regard till date. So these are the clauses under which, like, these are the criteria. If the enterprises are falling in these criteria, then those would be considered as associated enterprise. The fact which needed consideration was that these two sections, which is 92A subsection 1 and 92A subsection 2, are to be read in togetherness. You cannot constitute like two enterprise as associated enterprise only on the basis of subsection 1. You also need to read subsection 2, but still this is a litigative matter and a lot of case laws are already there in these regard. So let me know if you want me to make another video on such case laws. I would love to do that. And in case you have any other questions or suggestions, please comment down in the comment section below and I would love to take them up. I hope you get a clear idea of what associated enterprise means. I'll see you guys in my next video. Till then, keep smiling, stay happy, stay positive, and stay motivated.